Voting ends in tense Burkina Faso elections. Workers at South Africa's public broadcaster lock horns with management over looming retrenchments. And another massacre rocks Colombia as government continues to turn blind eye. Hello and welcome to TeleSUR. I'm Doris Polo in Quito, Ecuador, and this is from the south. Vote counting is underway in Burkina Faso after millions went to the polls on Sunday in an election marred with accusations of fraud. President Rochma Christian Kabore is expected to win re-election based on opinion polls. The opposition has, however, threatened to reject the results over what they've called a huge operation orchestrated by those in power to carry out massive fraud. More than 6.5 million are eligible to vote, but the turnout is expected to be much lower due to an armed insurgency linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. This has forced the Electoral Commission to close polling stations in the north and eastern regions of the country.
All these facts challenge us. This is why we decided yesterday to file a complaint with the prosecutor of Faso. But we are well aware of the slowness of our judicial institutions. What we want is not to wait 2 or 3 weeks after the elections for a decision. We want it to be decided now, and it is you, Burkinabes, and your vigilance that will help us to do that.
Dozens of workers at the South African Broadcasting Corporation have protested against plans to retrench hundreds of workers. The employees said the retrenchments would have a devastating impact on them and their families. Last week, the company issued retrenchment notices to 400 permanent staff and cancelled the contracts of more than 1,000 freelancers, citing financial challenges. The workers have vowed to continue demonstrating until management withdraws all dismissal letters. The Ethiopian government says its forces have taken over a key town that was previously in the hands of Tigray rebels. A statement by the Defense Ministry said the town of Adigrat, located about 120 kilometers north of the Tigrayan capital, Mekele, was now under the control of government soldiers. Meanwhile, on Sunday, the Air Force chief revealed that armed drones have been deployed in the battle against the Tigray rebel forces.
In the last 2.5 years, we've made considerable effort in training and preparation to use unmanned aerial vehicles. This junta thought that, as in the past, you dig trenches and fight in the trenches with tanks. This has stopped. This is one area in which they miscalculated. The drones we are armed with are made by our own technicians, our own pilots. We are not too small for the extremist group to call other country.
And late on Sunday evening, the Ethiopian military called on Mekele's 500,000 inhabitants to save themselves and evacuate as an attack to reclaim the city from Tigray fighters is about to be launched. An army spokesperson said an operation to surround the area with tanks and other artillery weapons has begun. The fighting erupted on November 4th after Tigray forces attacked a federal military base in what they called a preemptive strike against an imminent attack by the central government. According to the UN Refugee Agency, the conflict has already pushed more than 36,000 civilians across the border into Sudan, where they are living in refugee camps whose facilities have been stretched to the limit.
All the people, these people, are sleeping on the ground. Just 2 days ago, we got some blankets and a mattress. Just a little bit, though. These things that they are distributing now is not being distributed a lot. It is not reaching the people. There are women who didn't bring anything with them. No food or anything with them. They came on foot from our village till they reached Sudan.
We'll take a short break now. Stay where you are. Welcome back. In Brazil, the funeral for João Alberto Silveira Freitas, a black man killed by security guards on Friday, has taken place in Porto Alegre. Freitas was killed by two white security guards outside a Carrefour supermarket. A video posted on social media showed one guard restraining him while the other inflicted repeated blows to his face. Other clips showed a guard kneeling on top of Freitas' back. According to local media, paramedics attempted to resuscitate the 40-year-old man at the scene, but it was already too late and he succumbed to his wounds.
When you go to the market, you can be murdered. When you are indoors, you can also be killed when you are black in Brazil. When the Vice President of the Republic says there is no racism in this country, he doesn't know Brazil.
We are fighting not only for João Alberto, who is gone, but for all the other lives that are gone and that need justice. Justice needs to be done.
In other news, another massacre has rocked Colombia after 8 coffee growers were killed in Antioquia. According to the mayor of Betania, heavily armed men entered a coffee farm in La Julia on Sunday where 14 farmers were working. They killed 7 of them on the spot and wounded 3, one of whom succumbed to his injuries. The mayor said the area was home to one of the largest paramilitary organizations called the Gulf Clan, which is currently fighting for control of drug trafficking routes. Meanwhile, another 5 people were killed on Sunday in Cauca by unknown men. Shifting gears now, protesters in Colombia have marked a year since the national strike against Ivan Duque's government. Hundreds of people, including teachers, students and workers' unions, protested in the streets of Bogota. They marched with drums and banners denouncing inequality. Riot police in black uniforms from the ESMAD unit threw tear gas at demonstrators who fired back with stones and Molotov cocktails. A police car was vandalized as protesters chastised the ESMAD for decades of police brutality. On Monday, students will also take to the streets to condemn the murder of Dylan Cruz, killed a year ago by riot police.
We are more students because students are the future of the country. And it is not simply seeing the fact that this is happening, but putting on our shoes, supporting it, because it's a national strike. You may be fine, but someone else is not well, and it's thinking about equity.
After so many deaths, after so much police abuse, clearly the students, the people, and the citizens are tired. Here, not only are there students from the National University, but there are other Colombians who are tired and annoyed by police abuse.
I think that at some point Colombia had to wake up, if it did a year ago and is no longer doing it now. Maybe because of the pandemic, that's fine. But I think that students now, we don't care about that. We care more than a virus or whatever. Seriously, the future of Colombia.
Chile is reopening its borders to international travelers from November 23rd. Visitors will arrive via the Arturo Merino Benitez Airport outside Santiago in compliance with strict health measures. Now, this includes a PCR test taken 72 hours before boarding the plane, a mandatory health insurance that covers COVID-19, and a health passport.
Today, after 5 months of the average health situation in our country continuously improving, and thanks to the effort and contributions of all Chileans and the health protection measures that our government has provided, we want to announce the first stage of the process of our borders reopening for non-resident foreigners to our country.
We're taking one last break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden is expected to announce his first cabinet picks on Tuesday, according to members of his transition team. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump continues to deny the legitimacy of Biden's win, and his legal team is mounting challenges in several states against the election results. Trump's refusal to accept the defeat has delayed a routine recognition by the General Services Administration that would allow the official transition to begin.
They've had to make...
Well, France's Foreign Affairs Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian has said he shares Biden's view that Donald Trump's attempts to challenge and discredit the results of the November 3rd elections is incredible irresponsibility.
And now we are hearing that there is a pressure on some states not to recognize the results as they have been allowed. In the current state of things, it doesn't work, and we are agreeing with what John Biden says. Is incredible irresponsibility. And I agree with what John Biden is saying. I never said it in this way.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel has voiced concern that no major vaccine agreements have yet been struck for poorer nations, as the G20 summit ends with leaders pledging to ensure a fair distribution of COVID-19 jabs.
We will now speak with Global Vaccine Alliance Group about when these negotiations will begin, because I am somewhat worried that nothing has been done on that yet. When the money is all there, then we'll see. And Germany rarely does nothing, but Germany can't support the international alliance alone.
Also addressing the summit, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has demanded that middle-income countries get better credit interest rates to overcome economic crises.
Make the commitment to debt relief and debt service payments for the world's poor nations a reality. Ensure that middle-income countries can access credit at interest rates equivalent to those prevailing in developed countries. I hope that we will be able to set an example in history of how to deal with a global health threat and a serious economic crisis by applying the principle of universal brotherhood.
Moving on, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has announced plans to vaccinate a very substantial part of the population of 47 million by mid-2021.
Our country will, along with Germany, be the first European Union nation to have a complete vaccination plan for COVID-19. We have been working on this plan since September. First of all, we will have 13,000 vaccination points. Each year we vaccinate 10 million people for the common flu. As you see, we are ready to reach the goal. A current example is that this year in 2020, in just 8 weeks, we vaccinated 14 million for the flu. So the capacity which our National Health Service has to vaccinate in a short amount of time is frankly outstanding and gives us confidence that we can achieve this ambitious goal.
In lighter news, an artist in the UK seeking to raise awareness on reports that thousands of children are at risk of dying indirectly from COVID-19. The artist Stand in Your Eye created an 11,000 square meter art installation on a hill by Hebden Bridge in northwest England. The work is supported by UNICEF and shows a child's face made out of sand, and it's called 6,000 Children. It aims to raise awareness about the situation involving over 6,000 children at risk of dying from indirect causes of the COVID-19 pandemic. Definitely not lighter news. Moving on. Hundreds have taken to the streets in Kyrgyzstan to protest a proposed constitution that critics say would empower the presidency and damage freedom of speech. Several hundred protesters who gathered in the center of the capital, Bishkek, held up signs decrying a constitution, a reference to the absolutist rulers who dominated Central Asia for centuries. Constitutional amendments currently undergoing public discussion would return cabinet, forming powers to the president and allow incumbent leaders to run for office. Initiators say the draft constitution should be put to a referendum on January 10th, the same day that the country is holding presidential elections.
This constitution is a new project that is now being proposed. It has a very simple goal: to push educated people out of the country, to live in the country only those people who will accept without any critical thinking about power, to support the Khanate, support the caliphate.
The fact is that the proposed referendum is a new draft constitution that came out of nowhere, and who knows who its authors are. This is a completely illegitimate procedure, and it is necessary to return it to its legal course.
Tens of thousands of Taiwanese protesters have marched in Taipei in an anti-government demonstration targeting a range of measures. Protesters are angry over labor issues, media freedom, and a recent controversial decision to allow the importation of U.S. pork containing ractopamine, a feed additive used by U.S. farmers to promote leaner meat in livestock. The drug is banned by the European Union, but is legal in the United States. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen made the announcement to lift restrictions on U.S. pork in August in an effort to pave the way for a future bilateral trade pact with Washington. Imports of American pork will affect Taiwanese pig farmers and vendors very seriously because ractopamine is not allowed here. But now our government wants to import them. It's a slap in the face for our farmers.
I'm a mom from Taichung. I'm here in Taipei for the next generation protesting against the import of pork containing ractopamine because it's very poisonous. And Tsai Ing-wen now wants us to eat these kinds of poisonous food. So I'm here to protest.
Iran's foreign ministry has said it is willing to engage in a diplomatic exchange with the U.S. despite the many crimes that Washington has committed against the Persian nation in the last 4 decades.
The future of relations between Iran and the United States is not simple, as America has committed repeated crimes against the Iranian people over the past 40 years. These are serious crimes, plus other crimes that they specifically committed. The martyrdom of General Soleiman is in this category. The list can neither be cut down nor forgotten. It is natural that between two members of the United Nations, there are well thought out exchanges within a known framework, but this does not mean that Iran will forget this list of crimes.
The first female-only boxing tournament in Palestine is taking place against all odds. What was once the monopoly of men and a sport that women were kept away from has attracted girls from across the Gaza Strip. 12 girls participated in the tournaments that had 6 different weight categories. Their coach says he is proud of organizing the tournament despite being cash-strapped and hopes to take the boxers out of Gaza for regional competitions. The team has so far received an invitation to participate in a boxing event in Kuwait, but it is not yet clear if Israeli authorities will allow them to travel out of the besieged enclave.
I used to watch boxers like Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. I love watching them fight because they are really good and often win their fights in the first round. Mike Tyson has won more than 55 championships.
Many people think that what we are doing is wrong, that we are acting in defiance of morals and traditions. But for me, my family and friends, it is all normal. And they all support me and want to sign up themselves after watching us. For me, this is something very beautiful and normal.
On that note, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I am Doris Polo. Have a good night.